Hey everybody, this is Jennifer. I'm coming to you with another sales update video. Before I get started, I just want to let everybody know, in case you don't already, all the back to school supplies, which are great office supplies, the paper, the pads, the pens, they're all going on sale right now. Usually it's like 30% and then it drops down to 50%. If you wait for the 50%, you might have a less of a selection, but this is a great time to get all your office supplies for the whole year. That's what I do. I have a big stack of printing paper and pads and notes and pens, and it works out really great. So if you need supplies or you're thinking ahead for the whole year, right now is a great time to go check things out. Okay, the first item I have is a vintage Tommy Hilfiger polo shirt. It was a 2XL, which is a really nice size. It wasn't vintage though. I paid $4.50 and it sold for $11.99 and the buyer paid $18.64 with shipping. The next item is a basic edition, so you definitely don't want to look for this tag, but they were both new and they were size 3X and they were both 50 cents a piece. So for both of them, I only paid, for the tank and the button down, I only paid $1. Even still, I only got $12.25 for both of them, but it shipped first class mail, so I made about $7 on it. Okay, this is a pair of men's Adidas, I don't know how to pronounce it, Trediac, Trediac, GTX sneakers. They were new with tags and $6 at the Goodwill. They sold for $39.99 and the buyer paid $49.74 with shipping. Alright, this is just a little Ralph Lauren ruffle shirt, so it's plaid ruffles, so you want to put all that in your title. It was only 50 cents at the Goodwill and it sold for $9.99 with free shipping, but it only cost about $2.77 to ship, so I still made about $6. Now I'm moving away from this type of profit margin, like that $6-8 profit margin on these very, very cheap items, but this is actually a great place to start, to go to these, find these sales and go to this type of sales to get familiar with your brands and not to put out too much money, because you will make mistakes. I mean, it's just part of the whole process. So when you're first starting, you're going to make mistakes. So try to find these sales, call up your Goodwills and call up the Salvation Army, because sometimes they run sales that they actually don't tell anybody about. And the one that I keep talking about, this 50-cent sale, they have no signs up for the sale. Anybody who walks in will not even know what's going on. So definitely ask somebody like what's running today when you walk in. Okay, this is a Duluth Trading Company jacket. The Duluth Trading Company, let me find the tag. This is a good tag to look out for. When I picked this up, I didn't realize it was missing a snap right there. So I put it in the pictures and I put it everywhere. I put in the title that had a flaw and in the item condition notes and also in the description. So no one can miss it. It's everywhere. And I ran it as an auction once I saw that it was missing a snap. This way they can basically say how much they want to pay for it. It cost me $5.75. And I'm glad I didn't see the flaw, because I don't think I would have picked it up. And I don't think I would have realized the value of this type of jacket. If it did not have this flaw, I think it would be about $60, $60 or $70. Even with the flaw, and that's a big one, no snap, it went to $22.50, and the buyer paid $31 for this coat jacket missing a snap. So definitely look for that tag. Okay, this is a pair of Allen Edmonds shoes. This comes with a little story, and I am going to tell you about it because it's just, you kind of want to get ahead of a problem. Like if you think there might be a problem going on, you definitely want to try to jump ahead of it if you can. This guy gave me a problem with sending me low bids, and you know, the type of person where, you know, they'll give you a ridiculously low bid, like say $10 on 50, and you'll say, no, I want $48, like this one. And they'll give you, all right, I'll give you 11, you know, that type of person. And it went to the very last time, like he could give me a bid or put in an offer, because after 3, they cut they cut the buyer off. They can't put in more than 3 offers because they're just like kind of screwing with you, and they don't allow that to happen. He actually did buy the item, which I was surprised. Now when I get a buyer like that that's giving me a hard time, I always check their feedback because I want to know if I just don't want to sell them to them at all. Like if I get that bad feeling, I just check their feedback. Well, I didn't with this guy. I did it after the fact. And what happened was, he paid $48 for this. It shipped $59.70. I paid $4.50. So it was a good sale until the very day he received it, where he basically contacted me probably within the hour of when it was supposed to be delivered, saying he never received it. That it says it's delivered, but he never received it, and it wasn't delivered to him. And I'm going, why are you contacting me? You need to contact your post office. I don't have it. They have it. And he's like, he would not let it go. And he was like, no, they would just tell me that you should answer. And I'm like, wait a minute. And he was giving me really long stories with lots of details, which is pretty much a clear indication when someone is lying, when there's just way too many details in their story. So I was like, okay, before I go crazy with this guy, let me check his feedbacks. Of course, you can't see any negatives that sellers are leaving because sellers can't leave a negative feedback for a buyer. But you can see the kind of feedbacks that buyer is leaving for other people. So I went into his feedbacks, and what he had left for the last 2 people was, I never received my item, it said it was delivered, I never got it. Last 2 people. So really? So he wrote me again, and I wrote him back. I said, listen, I said, it really, seriously, I said, the last 2 people that you left feedback for, you're saying exactly the same thing. I said, it really sounds like you're having a problem. I said, you really need to contact your post office. Well, immediately he jumps in and tries to leave positives for all, like he left 6 positives that day, trying to bury these feedbacks that he left. I contacted eBay. Do not be afraid to contact eBay. Every time I have had a problem like this, they have been extremely helpful. I mean, for me, it's been a good experience. I'm sure there's people out there, maybe it hasn't been, but for me, it's definitely been a good experience. And I contacted them about this. And I said, listen, I said, look at this guy's feedback. I said, obviously there's a pattern going on here. He left these people's negatives. I don't want a negative from a guy who's obviously kind of running a scam. Let me just tell you right off the bat, they are not going to respond to your language like that. Not that she didn't believe the same thing, but she can't say, yeah, that guy literally looks like a scammer. They're not allowed to talk to about their customers to other customers. So don't expect them, if you're telling them something like that, to jump in and join you and say, yeah, this looks really bad. They're not going to do that. They're going to listen though. And she said, listen, it was delivered, and she checked everything out, and she said, listen, you're not responsible. We protect you in this situation. It is showing that it's delivered. It is showing you shipped really in a timely manner, blah, 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 blah. And she said, it takes 7 to 10 business. We have to wait. She went through this whole thing because he actually opened up a case against me. She goes, we have to wait, but she said, you did everything right, so nothing is going to happen to you. Don't worry, but you have to wait and give us a call back. She went through the whole procedure that she felt she had to do to protect, themselves. But I have to tell you, I hung up the phone. Within 2 hours, they removed his case against me. They sided in my favor, and he wasn't allowed to leave me feedback. So they did take in all the information, even though she wasn't completely saying it. And they did correct the situation within 2 hours. So if you have a buyer like this, try to kind of jump ahead of it, and don't be afraid to call eBay and ask them, hey, what should I do with this? Because honestly, every time I've done that, they've been pretty helpful. As long as you've done everything right, they've been very helpful in backing me and helping me work with a customer that's like this. So anyway, at least it was a sale. Also put a buyer like this on your, I forgot what it's called. I think it's block bidder list. So you can, when you have a bidder like this, you can then block them. If you have a problem with anybody that you really, really hope you never, ever, ever sell anything to again, just block them. Just remove the problem. It's not going to affect your sales. You don't want them anyway. So put them on your block bidder list. Okay, let's go to the next item. This is a vintage Tommy Hilfiger raincoat, athletics. I thought this would do a little bit better than it did, so I actually paid $7.50 for it, and I had it for a while, and eventually I sold it for $19, and the buyer paid $25.65 with shipping. And this is a pair of Clark shoes. Right now I did notice, usually Clark's, it's around $20 I was getting. I haven't been selling them long enough to see a pattern, like whether they do better at a certain time of year than other. You know, going into winter, I'm assuming it will go down. So right now I kind of had to lower the price I'm selling it at to about $16 or $17. Some of them at $15, just to keep them moving. So I don't know whether it's the time of year or maybe Clarks are kind of going out and people don't want them as much. I'm not quite sure. So, but still, if you're paying under $5, that might be acceptable to you, especially when you get a really clean pair that all you do is take the pictures and throw them on. To me, it's a really quick list, so I still will do it at like selling them at $16. This pair was $5 and sold for $15, and the buyer paid $22.60 with shipping. All right, this is this is a shirt, a Docker shirt, Levi's Dockers, and it was just such a crazy pattern that I picked it up. I mean, this thing was pretty bold, and it was only 50 cents, so I thought I'd give it a try. It sold for $11.99 with free shipping, and it only cost $2.77 to ship, so I made about $7 on this. All right, this is a pair of women's Calvin Klein shorts. I normally wouldn't pick this up, but this was new with tags, so I did pick them up, and it was only $2.50. They sold for $10.79, and the buyer with shipping paid $14. This is a Benetton sweater. It was only 50 cents at the Goodwill sale. I thought we'd get a little bit more. I had it for a while, and what I noticed, which is great selling internationally, when you drop the price, when you're trying to get rid of something, that's when a lot of international customers kind of jump in, because the shipping is so high for them. So when the price really gets lowered, you see your international buyers pick up, because then it becomes more of a reasonable price for them. So this was 50 cents and sold for $8.99, and the buyer paid $24.49 with shipment to Canada. All right, this is a vintage hippie pendant. It's from 1971. Now I wanted to show you, if you see these pendants, they're war is not healthy for children and other living things, and I think there's another one too. Flip it over, look at the back. If it's stamped AMP, which stands for Another Mother for Peace, it most likely has some value. I just learned this because I didn't even know. When I picked this up and I paid $2, I didn't know. I just thought it was kind of cool. And the date, 1971, that was perfect. But you definitely want to look for the AMP. I don't know if it's not marked. I don't know if it's going to have the same kind of value. This was the only bracelet I could find. I couldn't find a bracelet. But I saw that the little charm right there, that by itself, I think some of them were 1969, I think, or 1970, 71. I think it's those 3 years. They were getting, the pendant alone was getting $30 to $40. And for this, I got $31.99 with free shipping. So definitely keep your eyes out for these pendants. All right. The last item I have on eBay is a Chaps Ralph Lauren polo shirt. Now, Chaps Ralph Lauren in itself isn't usually great. It is vintage. That's a vintage tag. But this design was awesome. Remember I said anything equestrian. This is a fox hunt scene, an all-over print. You got the hounds and the riders and horses. So in it, I put fox hunt, equestrian, horse in the title. I paid $4.50. And I think it sold within a week for $29.99. Now for Etsy, the first item I have is this, don't know how to pronounce it, Nuremberg, Germany candle. So an item like this, you definitely are waiting for that specific buyer that is relating to the city of Nuremberg. If it's a city, I'm not even sure. But this was kind of cool. It was only $1 at the Goodwill, and it was fairly large. It was 7 inches tall, and the candle on the top is actually like a cap. I'll show you right here, and it comes off. I don't know if this is how it's supposed to be used, and someone puts a little tea light on the top, and it's from the 60s. So I paid about $1. No, I did pay exactly $1, and it sold for $24.99, and the buyer paid $38.19 with shipping. Okay, this is a vintage Handmacher. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a vintage skirt suit, it's tweed, wool. I'm not sure exactly when it's from, so I put 50s, 60s question mark, and I say in the auction, I don't know, I'm not sure. I think it's from now. And make sure if you're picking up vintage stuff, you tell people it's going to run small and to check the measurements and make sure that these measurements fit you, because everything that's vintage is very, very small. This is a size 8, and I think the waist was like a 25-inch waist. That would be what today? A 0? That's a really tiny, tiny little waist. So make sure you put that in. And then also, these items are often left behind and make it to sale days at Salvation and Goodwill. And if you're into picking this stuff up and doing just a little bit of research, they bring back a pretty nice profit, and you can find them because not a lot of people want it. So this was only 50 cents at the Goodwill, and it sold for $29.99, and the buyer paid $41.64. And the last item I have is a wheatgrass chopper or juicer. It goes, let me see. Let's see if I can get the picture a little larger. There you go. Like it attaches to the end of a table. And I'm assuming that's vintage. I'm not 100% sure. I was thinking it was, and that it was okay to put it on Etsy. It came with the box, but the box was destroyed, and it was only $3 at a church sale. And it was very, very heavy. But the buyer paid $24.99, and it was $36.39 delivered. I'm just going to say one more thing real quick. When you're not doing free shipping, what I find is you have a lot more buyers buying closer to you than you do when you have free shipping. The reason is when you have free shipping and you're doing it on your heavier items, you kind of have to calculate the shipping. If it was going to California, I'm in Pennsylvania. If it was going to California, what would it be? Because someone from California could buy that, and I have to incorporate that into the listing. And then somehow your brain goes, yeah, but if somebody closer buys it, I make more money. However, I think what was happening is it's very discouraging. Maybe people want to buy it from you who are closer, where it would be normally a lot cheaper to ship, but you can't lower that price when you have free shipping, because what if somebody from California buys it? So when you do calculated shipping, that if someone lives close to you, they're actually benefiting from buying from you because it will be cheaper because the shipping is cheaper. It actually encourages people who are living closer to you to buy your item because it's actually cheaper for them to buy. I found a lot of benefits have been happening by removing the free shipping, and not a lot negative. Definitely, I think my sales have actually increased, and I've noticed I've gotten a lot more people who are close to me picking up items because it may cost $15 to ship to California, but for them, this big heavy item, a 4-pound item, is only costing like $7 to be shipped to them. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. That's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and your sales are going great, and I will see you next time.